Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? And welcome to another doll of an episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 397, recorded Sunday, November 13th, 2022. Tonight, we're talking about the winner of the November poll pick, which was Coraline from 2009. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Ryan Do.
I just get so excited about all that boogeyman bullshit.
What's up, buddy? I'm excited about all this boogeyman bullshit this week. How about you?
Dude, what if Michael Myers just fell in love with you? What if that happened?
I mean,
What
I guess
if?
I'd take him on the back of my Vespa and show him the town.
Hold on tight, Michael. I don't want you to fall off. And now we're just talking about Halloween
Yeah,
again.
we've officially switched gears 2 minutes into this fucking episode.
Hold on, buddy. Nice and tight. Last but not least, calling in from Saxonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what a bitchy boy of the mother stains.
The other mother boy.
The other mother boy.
Oh,
Counterpart to Buster.
The good one.
the weird one. The one with buttons in his eyes. Oh, Juice, this was your takeover month, actually. November was your takeover month.
Mhm.
Do you want to remind everybody what your theme was real quick?
Yeah, it was a director highlight. So the choices at the time were Nightmare Before Christmas, James and his luscious peach, and
I've seen fatter peaches in my life.
and Coraline, which was all Henry Selick films. And he also had a new film that came out just last month when the poll was rolling, actually, Wendell and Wild, which is something he worked on with Jordan Peele. And so, yeah, this is the one that ultimately won out. And yeah, now we're going to be talking about it.
It's like really timely that you chose this, actually, because like 2 weeks ago, Henry Selick gave an interview, or I guess several interviews, and like all the headlines read something along the lines of, this is one from AV Club, where they read, "The Nightmare Before Christmas director Henry Selick is humbly asking for a little bit of credit." So,
hey, my man. Hey, Henry.
My man.
Your boy
We
Soju's
gotcha.
looking out. Your boy Soju's looking out. So yeah, this guy, we talk a lot about kind of intros into horror, gateways into horror, people with family. When do you show your kids horror? You know, if you're a parent who enjoys it and stuff like that, what's appropriate? And for me, I was going to talk about it a little bit more in depth in our full review, but for me, Coraline sticks out in my mind is one of the first films that I saw as an adult that was kind of made for kids, that didn't have any kind of nostalgia value or anything, that still like really held up for me as an adult. You know, without the kind of nostalgia value or anything like that, that I was like, wow, this is a great film. I like it as an adult, but I also recognize it as like, this would really stick out in a kid's mind of like their kind of intro to horror. And so I think it carries a lot of weight for me in that kind of realm.
I want to, like, if anybody, please nobody check the math on Juice saying he was an adult in the year 2009.
Well, I didn't
Please
say
don't
I
check
didn't
that
say
math.
when I saw the film. I just said it's
okay.
the first film I watched as an adult.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so please don't check the math on that one.
It's like doubly perfect that we're talking about this movie when we are, because last week was Neil Gaiman's birthday, and this movie is based on a short that
Happy
he
birthday,
wrote.
Mr. Gaiman.
So really,
Yeah.
Soju just timed his poll and everything
so
perfectly. Is
perfectly.
really
Yeah,
what
and also
happened.
knew the winner in advance.
Yeah.
Fucking
Even if it was Nightmare
Elections are
Before
broken.
Christmas, it would have been perfect for the Henry Selick interview.
We are a perfect podcast.
I
is
just
what we
nail it
need
every
you to know.
time. Is really what
He
it
hits
comes
it in
to.
every time. He hits it in.
I'm betting 100% average over here.
It's not in the file. Well, let's go ahead and segue that into some housekeeping. Speaking of polls, we got our December poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this December. The theme for December is Christmas Redemption. So we've done like redemption polls. Typically every January we do it, where we revisit, or we take 3 movies that we have reviewed in the past, we throw them up on a poll because we want to revisit one of them. We're doing that this year a little bit early. We got 3 Christmas movies we've reviewed way back when that we feel like we could probably do better now. So the 3 movies you can vote between are Gremlins, Santa's Sleigh, and Black Christmas.
Whoa, Bob, tell me how those numbers are looking.
Whoa, Black Christmas, 1974, that is still in first place. Santa's Sleigh is got like a couple votes, but like nobody really cares much about it. Gremlins is like right in the middle. So
Okay.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Cool. Either way, love some Christmas horror, getting into the festive season. Excited to explore one of those again.
I'm excited
For
to
sure.
explore you again.
My God,
every
Bob.
time. What do you just
Put it away.
I'm gonna
while
make
we're
a
recording.
Bob
I can't.
Cooter supercut that just
Oh my God.
It'll be 18
And it also
hours
isn't penetrating you. That's a
it'll
bummer.
pretty much just be
That's
our
a
show.
bummer. Let's
Dude.
anyway get your votes in before the end of
This show is
November.
turning into audio hardcore porn.
And
Turning.
Yeah, you're right.
see.
You're right. It's been on that dime for a while.
Welcome to Straight Chilling, where we turn your ass out. That's what we're doing here. Get your votes in before the end of November.
Are you the butthole?
Are you the butthole? And we'll see what movie we're talking about this December. Speaking of bonus Patreon bullshit, we had a brand new mini cast drop this past Friday. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. We have over 80 on there now. This past Friday, we dropped a mini cast where I was talking about VHS 99. So check that out if you want to know my thoughts on it. We also have another mini cast dropping in a week and a half or so at the time of this episode's release. Resurrection is up next. So you got that coming,
God, yes,
coming your way.
Come with me. I
Come
think
with
I
me.
talked about that one, right?
You did do that.
I'm
You
trying
did
to
it.
remember which movie that was.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Oh, is that the one with Rebecca,
Rebecca
Hall in
Hall?
it? Yeah,
Rebecca
yeah.
Hall,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Dude,
Rebecca
there's
Black stars in it?
there's so many movies this year.
People make
When did
too
you
many
become me?
movies.
That's not cool, man. That's my whole shtick. Okay. Leave my shtick alone.
Our podcast sucks ass.
It is the
No,
most
I'm the
perfect
voice of
podcast.
reason.
Oh boys. What else we got going on here? So we were guests on Plug It Up, actually.
Oh yeah,
recently.
good call.
And all 3 of us actually were guests on Plug It Up. I guess we did not embarrass ourselves enough last time we were on Plug It Up. So
No.
Caitlin was gracious enough to have us back on. We were talking about a little movie that we all love called Blood Rage. It is a Thanksgiving slasher film that was actually filmed in Jacksonville, Florida, 1986. That episode is dropping over on Plug It Up's feed on
But like in 2 weeks.
Right, yeah, it's gonna be on Tuesday, the 22nd, just before Thanksgiving.
Okay,
So,
just 1 week away. Okay.
yeah, mark your calendars. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Speaking of Blood Rage, we're going to be hosting a live screening of Blood Rage here in Jacksonville, Florida,
What?
at Sunray Cinema at 9:45 now, actually.
Thanks, Marvel.
I know, Marvel fucked us.
Past
on
my
Saturday.
bedtime.
Saturday, November 19th at 9:45. Sunray Cinema hosting a screening of Blood Rage. Your boy Soju and your boy Bob will be there live.
Soju in Florida live?
You can get stained in person.
My God. Oh
Be
my
bedazzled.
God. Meet the man, the myth, the legend, the one you've
The
seen
stain.
every week on OnlyFans. I'll be there live.
What? And I'm the cooter that you're gonna make a supercut of? I don't know, man.
People pay me, Rob.
Come hang out with us at Sunray Cinema.
Also, Randy designed a custom poster again.
A dope fucking
that.
poster.
It is in production, so
Yes.
Well, it'll
It's in
probably be
production.
there.
It will almost certainly
It
be
is
there.
Yeah.
currently being screen printed.
I'll sign it for you. I'll sign it, Randy.
I'll
Handy.
state
You really are
for
coming
it.
after me. He's taking my job.
Ravi designed a fucking awesome ass poster. We will be selling that at the show. Limited edition screen print for Blood Rage. Come hang out with us Saturday, November 19th. We're also going to have another live event happening in Jacksonville, Florida. Mark your calendars for Friday, December 2nd. We're hanging out at Rain Dogs, which is a bar in 5 Points, Jacksonville, Florida. We rented out the back room. All three of us will be there in attendance live.
What?
You can touch our faces. All three of them.
I'm not signing on for that.
Touch Randy's face first. With your grubby
If
little
you got the
paws.
big bucks, you can touch me in many different places.
In the brown eye. You can just touch on it. Just touch it. Touch it real good. So yeah, we're gonna be hanging out at Rain Dogs Friday, December 2nd. We're gonna have a meetup. We're also gonna be recording a live episode in Rain Dogs.
What? Are you
so plump, so right?
This is the first time we have ever been able to do this in Straight Chilling history, actually. Record a live show with all three of us live in person. We've never been able to pull it off before. It's a big fucking deal. We've been doing this show for 8 years. If you want to be a part of this, seriously, come out. We would love to have you. Friday, December 2nd at Raid Dogs. Starts at 7 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of fucking fun. We got a lot of surprises in store for you. Bring your asses.
Yes.
I've never used this bump with more sincerity.
We're gonna get done, dudes.
That's what's gonna happen.
If you
That
show
is,
up, you
that
won't
is
get
the
done.
grand finale.
We will do you personally. No, we won't. That's a joke.
Bob.
Because everybody knows I'm serious all the time. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, you keep the beat.
Last thing I have, anyways. We are also soliciting for listener questions. We have episode 400 coming up in just a few weeks. If you guys have anything you would like to ask of us to have us answer on episode 400, please submit your questions to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com, and we will answer those questions on episode 400.
Yes.
That's all I got. Do you guys have anything else to add? Anything I forgot?
Anything else?
Anything?
I got a real bad rash on one side of my ass. If anybody wants to take
At
a
least
look,
you got the
I'll be
other
posting it on
side.
OnlyFans. Yeah, I really got to pivot hard on righty. You know, that's
The
my
red
house.
side
It's clean.
of my
now.
ass.
Here we
Randy's
go.
debut album.
Mhm.
All right, let's get into the main event. We are talking Coraline, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Show us the box, Bob.
Bob, that box looked pretty clean.
Yeah. So this
What's
is
up with that
actually
box?
Allison's box. She was kind enough to let me borrow it.
Nice. Finally, someone with some good taste in that house. Good.
Finally, someone with good taste. And I appreciate this box specifically for this. It says directly above Coraline, from the director of The Nightmare Before
There
Christmas.
you go, Bob.
Right
there you
fucking
go,
there.
Bob.
There you go, Juice. I have it. I'm showing you.
You know, it's been a history in Bob's love life that a lot of his significant others share similar tastes to my own, and Alice seems to fit that description as well.
Yeah, and it always works out so well for me too. This this Coraline disc actually
This
has
dirty laundry is so dirty.
it's got a 2D and a 3D version of the movie, and it comes with 3D glasses too. So it's pretty fucking badass.
I did not remember that this was a 3D enabled movie at all. Like,
dude, I was gonna say again, blow them a little early. This is behind Avatar. This is one of the movies that I specifically remember it being like the best 3D experience. Like at the time it came out, that was a big trend. And I saw this in the theater several times in 3D specifically because it was so good in that way.
I don't think I ever saw it even in the theaters in 3D.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I went to a smaller like repertory movie house in Baltimore to see this.
Nerd.
So okay, you know. I support the arts, motherfucker.
It was a great it was a great film to watch in 3D for sure.
Yeah, it's good shit. Coraline from 2009. This is rated PG, but it's still pretty fucking spooky. Runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. Directed by Henry Selick. Based on a short story by Neil Gaiman. The screenplay is by Henry Selick. Stars obviously voice actors Dakota Fanning, Terry Hatcher, Judge John Hodgman, Jennifer Saunders, Dawn French, Keith motherfucking David, several other folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box is as follows. Coraline Jones is bored in her new home until she finds a secret door that leads her into a world that's just like her own, but better. But when this fantastical adventure turns dangerous and her other mother tries to keep her forever, Coraline must count on her resourcefulness and bravery to get home. Gentlemen, I feel like we've all blown our load early on this, but we've seen this movie before. Would you recommend people check it out? Randu, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I have seen this film. I saw it in theaters. Like I said, I saw it in a small theater. I'm pretty sure it was the Charles in Baltimore, Maryland. Just a shout out to them. Small theaters represent all that shit. Anyway, I saw it there, and I really like this movie. I think that this is definitely a recommend for me. I think that it's kind of like good for all ages. I don't think that it's an absolutely perfect movie necessarily, but I think this is time well spent for most people. I think if nothing else, I think people could watch this and get a lot out of the aesthetics of it. So,
alrighty, Juice. What about you?
Yeah, I had seen this before many times, and I would recommend this strongly. This is like one of the few horror films, or like within the realm of horror, that you could just about recommend. Like almost anybody in your family, extended family, anyone you're surrounded by could watch this and enjoy it. So yeah, it's good and PG too, so good for kids and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely recommend. Robert, would you recommend people check this out?
For sure, definitely. I've seen this. I think it's my third watch, my third go around. It's a great movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's not like to Randy's point, it's not perfect, but absolutely hard recommend on this one. It's a fantastic gateway horror movie. It is PG, but it's like adequately spooky. And from what I understand, Neil Gaiman definitely signs off on it as well. So like, I guess they're doing the source material some justice here. So yeah, that sounds like a solid recommend from the Straight Chilling crew across the board.
Very solid.
Actually.
Also, boys, this has been the year of Keith David for us. We have covered a lot of Keith David this year.
Dude, I'll be happy to keep covering Keith David movies until the end of time. That dude rules. Yeah, we could just talk about season 6 of Community for like 8 hours. I would be fucking happy as shit.
Still haven't seen it.
Yeah,
still
me
good.
either.
I didn't realize Keith David was a part of that. Damn.
Me either.
He's a regular.
Okay.
I'm glad he's there. All right, so we are going to spoil the shit out of Coraline, and here is your warning.
Spoiler warning.
What part of this movie does Keith David say ass to ass again?
It's toward the middle.
Okay, all right. I nodded off there. I must have missed it.
PG.
Bob,
I mean, what does ass to ass mean? Yeah.
Oh God. Do you have this plot synopsis?
You know I do. Here we go. Full plot for Coraline. All right. Young Coraline moves from Michigan to Oregon with her workaholic parents. Struggling to adapt, she makes a new friend by the name of Wybie. Coraline discovers a hidden door in their new apartment that leads to a parallel universe. She then enters and meets button-eyed versions of her parents who seem more loving and attentive than her actual parents. The following morning, Wybie tells of his great aunt's mysterious disappearance, and Coraline is warned of imminent danger by her eccentric neighbors. Despite the warning, Coraline enters the other world 2 more times. She meets a silent, button-eyed version of Wybie, as well as a talking cat. Her other mother offers her to stay permanently if she agrees to have buttons sewn on her eyes. She is horrified and tries to leave, but her mother imprisons her in a room behind a mirror. While the ghosts of past victims explain how Beldam, which is her other mother, used ragdoll versions of them to see into our world. After they agreed to have buttons sewn over their eyes, she took their souls and hid them around the other world. Coraline promises to retrieve their souls and free them. Other Wybie helps Coraline return home, where she realizes her parents have been taken. Coraline returns to the other world one final time and makes a deal with Beldam. She says if she can find her parents and the essence of everyone's soul, they will all go free. If she cannot, she will have buttons sewn on her eyes and stay forever. As she finds the souls of the other world, turns lifeless and just crumbles around her. Coraline sees the Beldam's true form, that of a giant arachnid. Coraline tricks her into opening the door, where she is able to rescue her parents from a snow globe and narrowly escape. Back home, her parents have no recollection of what happened. The ghosts appear to Coraline and warn her that the Beldam's severed hand is looking for the key to open the door once more. Wybie helps destroy the hand and throw the key down a well, sealing it up for good. The next day, Coraline's parents throw a party, and Coraline and Wybie prepare to tell his grandmother about the fate of her missing sister. Roll them credits. Coraline, no matter fine.
Yeah. So one thing that was kind of different for me is I always associated, especially at the beginning of this film, with kind of an autumn vibe, but late autumn. Once the leaves have kind of gone and stuff like that. But actually, it was a little confusing to me this time, because in the later scene, when she's taken the key, she's gonna like throw it in the well or whatever, and then it looked like there were some cherry blossoms or something on the tree. Do y'all have a grip of when this is supposed to take place?
I never got the impression. Oh, go ahead.
I want to say springtime, because it is very much about like flowers blooming. So maybe it's like the ass end of winter into spring. Maybe.
Okay,
that could be, and it's also in Oregon, so like the rain would make sense for that. But also, like, I don't know, I never got a particularly strong seasonal vibe from this myself. I do think it was released around that time, so it may have just gotten your head that way.
Could have been, yeah. Because it does kind of remind me, especially like in Seoul, like in late November, it starts to get gloomy like that, rain a little bit, and like the leaves are gone already. But it's not winter time, so it's not snowing. So yeah, I don't know, just like locked in my head. But the opening of this, I love the texture of the opening credits. So it starts off with a really strong vibe, and it shows the making of the doll and kind of setting that up. So I like that strong opening.
It was released on February 6, 2009.
Oh, I was way off, actually.
Towards the end of winter, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, yeah, and this movie, like the way this movie opens up is with the what is his name? The Russian dude. What is his name? Bobinski doing crunches on the fucking roof. And I'll never forget that scene, because it like I hadn't seen the other character designs in this movie yet, like before I had watched it. But when I was like going into it, I was expecting it to be just a little bit more like Disney-ish, but that looks so fucking like I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it's like his character design is so spindly and strange, but like this huge, he's like a fucking circle with 4 like sticks sticking off of it.
Yeah,
it's fabulous. I love how extreme they take the characters, and not just him, but also like the little grannies or whatever. That one lady's got like massive yabos, and they highlight them heavily.
They're popping.
Dude, they do not shy away from it. In the song, they referenced it.
She's naked.
I was gonna say the scene towards the end where like she sees them in the other world, her yabas are fucking out, and I wonder, and we'll wait in anticipation, will this receive a half star for the yabas from Juice? I don't know.
Whoa. I'll let you know.
Did you see that granny nip? We'll find out.
I
It be
do.
slipping.
Oh boy, I do love how like each one of the characters receives a lot of like love and attention in this movie, especially like the more like peripheral characters, like the eccentric neighbors, like speaking of Mr. Bobinski. I did not realize this, but there's so much trivia. I'm gonna spill
There's
some
so
of it.
much.
I'm gonna spill some on the top here. But Mr. Bobinski is wearing a Russian hero medal for service at the Chernobyl nuclear disaster on April 22nd, 1986. And it reads, I don't know if you could actually read it in the movie, I couldn't, but apparently it reads participant in the cleanup campaign. So like, obviously he's got like a Russian accent, and I guess he was a part of the cleanup of Chernobyl. There's a lot of like great character details all throughout this.
And that kind of explains his blue skin, because everybody else has normal skin.
I didn't even think of that.
But he has like a blue tinted kind of skin, and so there's actually like and not that radiation actually tints your skin blue, but in a cartoon type of setting.
It's a way to show it.
That's interesting. I do think this is a good segue though to like maybe my biggest problem with this, and it's one that I don't really have a strong solution for, because it's like a give and take thing. I think my biggest thing that I noticed, like, I've noticed this before, but I was really trying to think through what it was about this movie that was like, what is it that's not sitting right with me here? And I think it's that the absence of a lot of, you said, Rob, there's a lot of love for the characters, and I think that's true, but I think that it has to gloss over so much of it that some of the parts feel disjointed. Like when Coraline is encouraged to go down and say hello to the little old ladies downstairs, they act like they've met them before, but we've never seen them meet, and like we don't understand, like there's like it's as if they cut out a scene, and I feel like that happened either it had probably happened in the adaptation process, the writing process, and I feel like there's quite a bit of that. I really want to see more like of the setup of this movie before we get into like the real meat of what is happening. And like, I don't need it to all make perfect sense, because it's kind of a fable in that way. I'm okay with that, but I do want to I want to feel the investment in these characters a little bit more before we see their alternate sides. Does that make sense? Like that's one thing, but the trade-off of that, however, is that this is still a family film that needs to be pretty tight and quick. And so like it's tough for me to really argue in favor of that, knowing what they're actually aiming for. It's just something as an adult viewer, I'm like, man, I want to see more about Bobinski. I want Coraline to sort of like just find this like a little bit of respect for him, maybe, or something, or for the little ladies or whatever, or just find out the most interesting thing about them and like be interested in that, but also be put off by them in some way. Because Coraline, through the first part of this movie, just kind of seems like a little bit of an asshole. Like she's a jerk to YB for no reason. She's she's dismissive of everybody. Her parents are dicks also, don't get me wrong, especially the mom. The dad is really more portrayed as just like inattentive,
aloof,
but the mom is like I don't have time for you, and like outwardly saying things. So like I appreciate that they took time with that. I just kind of wish there was more of that time spent with the other characters in this world, because I like those characters, and it's clear that there is a lot of love put into them. I just don't get to see the source of all of it. I think
it's kind of an interesting aspect in that I think that they achieve some of that through the lesson that she kind of has to learn. And I think they kind of like hinted that towards the end, but we don't get the time spent with them towards the beginning. But I think she learns to appreciate them more through the experience that she had.
No, definitely. And that is the art.
Yeah,
but I wanted that seed to be planted a little firmer, is I guess what I'm pointing at. Because it just
I guess if she had respect for
dismissal.
I guess if she had respect for Bobinski at the beginning, then the arc wouldn't be as impactful, because she wouldn't find the like mystery one so intriguing.
Yeah. No, you're right. What I guess that's not the right way of putting it. I guess what I'm putting it is like I want her to be interested in them in some way, but ultimately like really put off by them and really dismissing of them. That works. That's fine. But it like really comes off as there's no like she just shows up and she's just immediately kind of a dick to them, and they're just trying, like, nobody is mean to her outside of her own family, but she's kind of mean to everybody. And I just don't. I wish we had spent more time with them interacting more, just if only just to get to know those characters a little better, so that like the source of all of these twists on their characters became more apparent when we see them in the other world.
So, like, to go off of that, I actually like it's always stuck out in my mind the attitudes of these characters, especially towards the beginning. And I actually like watching this. I really kind of like that approach because it also goes against the grain of what a typical kind of, kids PG type of film does, where especially this lesson of, this is a very relatable thing of, you don't appreciate or you don't want what you have, and then once it's taken from you, you really realize how important it is to you and stuff like that. But in any kind of Disney movie, Moana, Coco, anything like that, the people you follow aren't necessarily perfect, but they are pretty close. They're very virtuous.
Yeah.
They're very, stoic, or, they're very, very sympathetic. And it's kind of a nice take to have a movie that treats things a little bit more realistic, where even Bob was reading the back of the box or something talking about the workaholics. They just happen to work from home, and this girl just like wants a lot of attention. She's an only kid. She just moved away from her friends, and so
in crunch.
Yeah, and each perspective, especially as an adult, is understandable, but like kind of annoying, from all aspects. Like, you gotta work, you work at home, your kid's bothering you, but also from a kid perspective, like, damn, you made me move all the way out here, you're not even buying groceries and
right.
shit,
Like,
so
everyone's
I
motivations
like
make a lot of sense. I totally agree with that.
I like that.
And I do like with the with the other characters or whatever. I like that they're all like, they're not there to be, at least not initially, they're not there to be foils to Coraline. They are there doing their own thing. They have their own interests. I just want to spend more time with those interests, but like, that's a whole other thing that I've already harped on.
I was trying to move on from that.
Yeah. So like, setting that aside though, like, I like how like everybody really does have a pretty understandable point of view. I as much as I want a little bit more of it from some of them, I think that that's pretty apparent, and I love that they don't really like make them bend to Coraline's. It's not like meeting the Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, you know what I mean? Where like his whole world is about what Dorothy's done for him or whatever.
Getting Dorothy to
this is a place that she's inserting herself. She's a fish out of water, and I think that works really well for her to start. But like the way she talks to YB and shit, like, why were you born is maybe the meanest dig I've ever heard from a child.
It is rough.
God damn, you gotta be chill.
When YB shows up for the first time in this movie, he's got his little like homemade like helmet.
Yeah,
he's got this whole suit on.
Helmet.
I forget that. I love the look of that character. Like, that would be such a dope Halloween costume, I think.
Yeah.
And he's like, regardless of how she is to him, he's always like helpful and like wanting to hang out, and like it, and just like, he's kind of a sweet character that I think she eventually does come around to in the end. But I dig his character quite a bit. I also really dig the other mother. So like, this character is fucking horrific, as well as the other father. But they like halfway through the movie or 3/4 through the movie, they start calling her the Beldam, which I didn't know what that was until like doing some research.
That's some like Warren level naming convention shit.
I got the definition pulled up.
Yeah, I've got it here too.
Okay.
So they call her the Beldam, which is apparently an archaic word meaning a malicious and ugly woman, especially an old one, a witch. It was, I guess, once traditional on Halloween night for kids to dare each other to knock on the neighborhood Beldam's door. In several stories, a Beldam closely resembles that of a spider and lures children into her home with candy and treats, only to trap them inside a web and liquefy their innards with venom. In other variations, the Beldam just traps kids in her home and eats them. The Spider and the Fly poem is similar to these stories that happen in Coraline, and many other happenings in the film are also similar to the stories in that poem. And then I guess there is another poem that's very similar to this, called La Belle Dame Sans Merci, which again very much parallels the story of Coraline. So there's like
That's
a lot of
fascinating.
history behind what a beldam is that I was unaware of until like doing a
Yeah.
little bit of research on this watch. I fucking
That's
love
really
that
interesting,
history.
man.
Yeah.
That's like
It's like
I would have never
folklore,
known that.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
what's
totally.
great is that it stands up entirely on its own, and that just enriches knowing that. That
Yeah.
enriches
Totally.
the character knowing
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
like that's a sign of just good writing, honestly. It's like
Well, and they
that it
hint
doesn't
at
make it
it.
fall apart or whatever. But
They hint at it because she never eats with Coraline when she makes her food, but then when she's got the bugs, like you start to see the bug aspect come out a little more and more and more. She's like eating the bugs and stuff. And then even like, you know, she resembles a spider in like some ways, but she never like fully transforms into like a spider. And I like that too. I mean, like,
she comes pretty close.
She comes pretty close,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
still a unique design. You know,
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't go all the way into like spider territory, and I like that. And it's interesting. Bob also mentions that French poem because the music in this, I love the music,
Interesting.
and it kind of going in all those aspects and tacking on the music. I've always thought that this kind of French composer and the French music that they use, it's a little delicate, but also kind of like a little dark. It gives it this like antique fairy tale kind of feel to me, even though when it's used and what we're seeing at the time is very like contemporary and modern, you know, this little girl walking around. It's not dated in any kind of like old time thing, but it just gives it that kind of feel. And it's interesting to have that like kind of poem tie-in and that folklore kind of tie-in and all that, because it matches like the like feels that I get from this without actually necessarily having those specific visuals tied in.
That's interesting because like my impression of the music, like and I didn't think about this until like literally the final scene of the movie. I had not even thought about the music, and that's kind of was it like I don't think I ever really have given much thought to the music in this. It's pretty subtle. Like they don't do a lot unless it's like a really heavy duty scene, or it's like the jumping mice scene or whatever, where it's centered around music, or the ladies singing or whatever. Usually it seems like, at least from what I can recall, pretty subtle. And I would almost kind of want them to like ramp it up a little bit so I can get a little bit more out of it. But from what I can remember about it, it's not offensive or bad or anything. It's probably pretty good. It's just not really something I'm really focused on ever throughout this movie.
Yeah, same for me actually.
Really?
It never really like demanded my attention. Yeah. But
Which
that could
might be a positive ultimately.
I think so too. It probably has more to do with like me just being so interested in these characters and what they're doing that I'm not paying so much attention to the music. Like, you know.
So there's one that always stands out to me, and it is the one that's got the kind of like French kid singing or French kind of choir, choir, whatever. I think it's called Dreaming. But the composer for all of this music is French. Bruno Coulais, Coulais.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So
Nailed
it. But anyways, that song in specifically, it plays when I think she's kind of exploring the
She's
the
like dowsing,
forest, the forest for the first time, but
Right.
it pops up at least 2 or 3 more times,
right?
And it's so like delicate, but like I said, a little kind of creepy. I don't know, it fits like perfectly.
To me, it registers as almost formless, which can be a positive or a negative depending on how you look at it. But to Rob's point, like I was like, it can't be so. It's definitely, it serves its purpose, because at no point do I feel pulled out of the movie, and certainly at some points the music does enhance, like in outwardly like diegetic scenes of singing and shit like that. Like that stuff all really works really well. I love the John Hodgman's song with the automatic piano.
Totally.
That shit cracks me up, and it's very, very eerie in a very subtle
Yeah.
way, as in terms of the animation, the way it's animated. It's like it's that perfect tone of like, oh, this is so whimsical, but it could turn dark at any second. And it
Yeah.
ultimately does.
It's bubbling under the surface. You're like, something ain't
Right.
right here, right? For sure. The fucking buttons on the eyes, man. Like
That's effective.
A doll's eyes. Like they fucking nail that shit. I love the like animated, the claymated like set pieces that they have in this movie. There's like so many beautiful scenes. Most of them I think happen in the other world, but like when we see like Bobinsky's full-blown like circus with his mice, and he's got like the cotton candy cannons that are like launching cotton candy. He's got, you know, they like open him up at the end, and he's just made of mice, which is like horrific, but like really fucking cool. And then we see these like theater ladies, like they have a full-on theater that opens up, and they're doing their trapeze high wire show, and they like unzip their bodies, and they come out, and they're all like thin, and then at the end they're like twisted up, and they're like taffy people. They're fucking
scary,
horrific.
yeah.
How cool is that, man? I'm like such a fan of that. And then like the giant garden that is Coraline's face that eventually like turns gray and falls apart. There's just like so many wonderful visuals that are just displayed like so perfectly in this movie. It's like a feast for the eyes. They nail it, man. They really do.
Dude, that's the thing, is like aesthetically, this movie is kind of untouchable. Like I can't imagine somebody watching this and being like, ugh, or like being like, I guess I don't care. Like, you know, like just like when talking about the aesthetics, you got to be like, I mean, it looks pretty good. Like nobody's gonna not say that. You'd have to be a huge contrarian, because every scene really does have at least a few elements of just like, holy shit, I can't believe like what they accomplished with this. Like when the she's walking through the house and it's starting to like curl up the wallpaper and shit like that. It's like fucking Silent Hill all of a sudden in this fucking kids movie, and it works so perfectly. Like none of it feels out of place. It all fits, and it all like narratively makes sense, which is great.
The color choices too. The garden is so iconic, and that's one of the scenes. You know, this visual is one of the aspects that really shine in the 3D, because it looked even better. But also, they are able to change some styles. I mean, when you go to that other world, it's got like this childlike wonder to it, like Rob was saying, with the Ferris wheel with the popcorn and this crazy garden. But also, I love when they're walking through the forest, and then it starts to have this kind of like digital feel,
right,
where everything becomes white, but you see the lines pass through, and then she comes back around and it builds itself again. And then the same effect, you know, Bob was kind of talking about, where everything goes gray, it loses all its color and it kind of disintegrates away. That's great. And then the dark elements too, like when the tunnel, I love how the tunnel's so whimsical and beautiful, when the purples and the pinks that kind of shine through there, and then it's fucking got shit in it, and it's gray and
it's got shit in it
and brown. Yeah, it's just, and it looks,
all of a sudden it looks like shit.
It looks jagged. Yeah, like I love all of like the aesthetics that they play with in this.
And like you said about the darkness, I thought you were going to talk about like just like the way they visually distinguish between the other world and the main world, even in as simple of scene as like when you first walk into she first walks out of the little door, and it's just night. It's constantly night. It's constantly dark. You can visually tell when you're in the other realm as a viewer, or at least as a viewer that's like thinking about that sort of thing. But it's subtle enough to where like you're not totally sure the first time. I don't know, man. They just it's really like just rock fucking solid visually.
This is like such a small little moment in the movie that I love so much, where like the first time she does go over to the other world and she meets her new parents or whatever, and she's like a little weirded out by them, but they invite her to dinner, and she sits down at the table, and there's a literal gravy train driving around that pours gravy on her mashed potatoes, and there's a chandelier that comes down and pours her a mango milkshake, and they just make her feel like totally at home and so comfortable, and just give her whatever she wants, and like they're trying to like lure her in to agree to be like, yeah, I'll stay forever, sew some buttons on my eyes, that's chill, because you know, mango milkshakes for life or whatever. But like I just love the attention to detail in that dinner scene. It's fucking cool, man. Big fan.
And also, like, I'm sorry, go ahead, Juice.
Well, I was gonna say, watching it like very close at this time, I like how like you pick up the third time. So she goes back, or she goes twice, and she's hesitant and she's kind of scared, but it's the first time she meets the parents. The second time she starts to like meet the neighbors and stuff like that. So the third time she goes back is when she specifically chooses to go back. And
To
that's why
save the
she
parents.
no,
Right.
no, no, no.
Oh wait.
Like that's when she unlocks the door. Like her mom has hidden the key, and she specifically like isn't lured there. Like she's the first time she's kind of lured there like by the mice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The third time she is like has been tempted to go back. So that's the third time. And then that's where she gets stuck and all the shit goes down. Now she does escape again, but then her parents never come and she has to go back for a fourth time or whatever.
Okay, I'm not counting.
So I like that kind of aspect of like she's, they're tempting her, but kind of like giving the space, and then like she chooses to go there, that she's trapped or whatever. Because then that's when she carries the key with her too. Because before she just kind of goes through the door, but this time she like her mom has hidden the key. She unlocks the key and like carries it with her. And yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I love the invention of the like viewfinder that she gets from the theater ladies, and that's how she's able to find the other people's souls and like save them and stuff. It's like a window into reality, and it very much resembles a like the planchette piece from like a Ouija board. That's like what it conjures in my mind anyways. You look through it and you see what's real. I thought that was just a really cool, like almost, to be honest, like video game invention, like for her to like conquer the level is almost like what it felt like, in a good way though. I thought that was cool.
It definitely felt like a video game at that point with her looking around or whatever, and it's like, you've got 2 more to find and all this shit. It's like, okay, it's a little video gamey, but actually that's one of the things that like stuck out to me as being part of that problem I was mentioning earlier, is like the creation of that thing. Like part of me wants to be like, you know what, it's a fable, whatever, but the other part of me is like, I just want to know a little bit more about what these old ladies have to do with this magic, where they can understand the value of this item to Coraline. Like what is I don't know, understand, like they're interested in the mystic arts in some way or whatever.
Spiritualists,
they read
spiritualism
the
and all that
teas,
shit. They do the tea leaves, they do the what. So that's kind of established, but they don't really say anything about this thing. It's like, it might help. It's just all they really say, and they make it out of their Brighton Beach taffy candy. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's just a little strange, and I feel like that's another thing that's like probably delved into more in the novel or in the book that we just don't have time for, and it just, I wish that we did. I just want to know a little bit more about these people and what their deal is. I kind of know, but I don't feel like I have it. I don't feel like I have as much understanding to where I can appreciate them fully the way Coraline does at the end. You know what I mean? I want to appreciate them on that same level.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I've actually, from that, like I remember seeing this for the first time and feeling this, like the video game aspect. It's interesting Bob likes it, because actually this is one of my biggest beefs with it. Not necessarily coming from the aspect that Randy was coming from, but like in the same kind of feeling of, I have always felt that the ghost eyes and the kind of the ghost aspect feels kind of tacked on, and absolutely feels like a video game. Like, find it here, find it here, find it here. And I feel like, honestly, that could have been cut out completely. And the whole aspect of looking for something could have been tied to the key and or just the parents, without needing to have this kind of like special item, because the item doesn't help her find her parents, doesn't help her find the key. And really the only kind of purpose it serves, like I don't exactly know how to kind of even this out, except that I guess she could be looking for the key and go through these same aspects, is the final,
or her parents,
the final showdown with each one of like the taffy ladies and the rats, which are great visuals and I want to keep. But yeah, just the whole find 3 eyes, here's one eye, here's one eye, here's one eye. It's like, I just think it's not smooth.
You could find another reason for her to show up in those places so that we still get the same story and the same visuals that would probably feel less video gamey. She could just be looking for her parents the whole time.
Yeah,
you could make
honestly,
it work.
You're right, but also I feel like I like the ghost kids a lot, and
I do
I think
too.
that a lot of it
Yeah.
has to do with both like the aesthetics of them, but it also has to do with like Wybe's role in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Him and his
Yeah.
grandmother, like that. It's so intrinsically tied to like the living in that way, and I don't know, and into I guess what is it, Beldam, what that
Beldam, yeah.
is like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
that's true
really
that
like
they
it.
call her
The thing
that.
that I think
Yeah.
they could have done, I think they could have done it exactly the way they did it, just without having those little moments of like here's two left. Like there's literally
Yeah.
lines like that. If they just cut that
Yeah.
out and like just
Mhm.
didn't have the kids say anything, just have their face glow, she's like, all right, and then moves on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then that solves like 90% of the issue for me.
I do feel like the movie does reach a point where it's repetitive, where
It
like
is.
she's going back and forth between worlds, and she keeps revisiting the same like 3 spots, like her 2 neighbors in the garden, over and over again. And it's not a long movie, but towards the beginning of the 3rd act, or at least for me, I feel like, okay, we're sort of like circling the drain.
Yeah, back
here.
and
Let's get to
forth,
the
back
point
and
a little
forth.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I love the visuals and I love getting to learn about these characters. It just maybe you could
Well,
cut
that's the
5
thing.
minutes and that would like solve the problem. I don't know. But
See, that's the thing is like you have this movie inverts itself twice. Like it has several
Mhm.
distinct locations and characters that are definitive of those locations that you are introduced to sort of briefly in the real world. Then you see like this magnificent childlike wonder, like whimsical version of it, and then you see the dark, fucked up, falling
Mhm.
apart at the seams version of it. And I think that's really interesting. Like I like going back to all those places. It is repetitive, but I think it's repetitive for like something of a purpose. I mean, I
It
think
is.
that it's revisiting with new information, revisiting with new experiences to inform ultimately the idea that, okay, this isn't the whimsical world. The real world isn't as whimsical as that first world that I visited,
Mhm.
but it's also not going to fall apart at the seams. It's also not part of a major trap. The real world is a little more messy than that, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of what I think is the ultimate messaging going on here.
Well, the benefit it has too is that it takes its time to build to it. So like I like to see the dad and Wyborn kind of like deteriorate, the world kind of deteriorate until ultimately, another great implied kind of horror scene is that kid's clothes empty and flapping like a flag in the wind, and the dad, getting taken by the hands and him kind of like still being able to speak, but like not really being able to speak.
Yeah,
It's so sorry.
Dude,
Yeah, dude,
I-
that's
shit's fucked up.
creepy.
I love
Yeah.
the like pumpkin version of the other father.
Yeah.
It is horrific.
It's
That shit is
not
awesome.
chill, yeah.
Yeah, big fan. Love it.
Mhm.
Gord
They-
Daddy.
They nailed the horror
Gord
aspects
Daddy.
in this because, like I just
Yeah.
said, like the creature herself and the fact that she comes from some folklore, that's amazing and great. But the buttons, that's unsettling. The kid with his empty clothes, the fact that he can't speak, and there's this little subtle moment where she's catching on, but also this is a great kind of like metaphor for growing up too, because at first everything plays to her needs. I need attention. I want this food. I want to be excited. But when she gets this friend who she complains about talking too much, and it's unsettling to her and it's unsettling to the audience, she asks this kind of like quick little subtle question of like, I hope it didn't hurt, when she took, she says as they're like going up the stairs. And so like she's growing
That's-
up, learning that everything's not about her and that like her wants and her needs affect other people. And like, that's, I don't know, it's
Sure.
played very well.
You know what? Like that whole thing, the other YB is an interesting thing because he starts out and he's like all smiles or whatever. You only get a little hint that he's maybe downtrodden in some way, and she says all those things to her and it's like, oh, I hope it didn't hurt. And then you later find out this really fucked up horrific scene where he takes off his glove. He's trying to help her escape, and he takes off his glove, and his glove reveals dust, and it just blows away in the wind, his whole hand. And it's this thing, it's like, this is not even a real fucking person. And to me, that's like a fucking nightmare situation going on. Like there are all these people here, and none of them truly exist except for Coraline, the cat, and the Beldam. That's literally the only characters in this movie. But her creations can turn on her. I thought that was fucking interesting. Like, what is that actually? What is actually happening? What is actually other YB?
Well, he mentions the dad kind of lets a couple things slip, and so once he starts to kind of fade a little bit, he specifically says like she's recharging or something, and as she gets stressed, as like she's loses control or where like things aren't playing out the way she wants them, that's when it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. She's not allowing herself to whatever recharge. And also too, I like the implication is probably the last person that she has fed on was a long time ago because the grandmother, the great grandmother, doesn't let any but kids go to that house
right
since her sister died. So that was like 80 years ago, you know?
The thing is, it's totally true. And like, I get that. I understand that, like, oh, when her powers are at their weakest, they can step out of line more. The thing I have, like, that sort of like keeps my eyes open on it is what they have their own sentience. Like, this is not an issue where it's like a bunch of robots controlled by a hive mind. These are things that can betray her if they have the willpower and the opportunity. Even the dad is apologizing. He's like, sorry, she's making me. He's not a real thing. He's just like, it's like literally like a drone apologizing for bombing your ass.
Maybe she like
creepy
borrowed a soul and like threw it in a shell of a body or
something. She broke apart the children to make that guy, like, because that's like when you pull the eyeball or whatever away, the little trinket away, it all dries up and those things fall apart. I just think like there's maybe like it takes some like digging into, and I kind of wish there was a little more surface knowledge that we could garner from it, or that I have garnered from it, that could sell that home a little bit more. But ultimately, I just think it's a really fucking interesting way of handling it.
Yeah, there's a really small moment where she's in the mirror realm or whatever, talking to the ghost kids when she first meets them, and they say like they can't remember their own names, like their identity is just totally stripped from them, and that's so fucking sad and heartbreaking. And like I think like that moment like totally justifies the existence of like having them in the movie at all, and like having her go hunt for like their souls and stuff. That specific moment is just like so fucking heavy, but it means so much to the overall story, I think,
at all.
No,
I really respect a kids movie that doesn't pull horror punches when it has the opportunity. And the thing is, like, this is still perfectly falls in line with a PG film. This falls in line with any Grimm's fairy tale you've ever heard. Like, there's a method, there's a way of putting that darkness in and making the stakes real. And like in real terms, without necessarily pushing it into without making a dark reimagining of blah, that sort of shit. Like, I just like that they can. That's one of the things I like about Over the Garden Wall. Like, I don't know, I think that's an underused thing in Hollywood productions because of the trouble it had. Like, you have trouble from parents or whatever when kids get upset or whatever. Like, they're worried about not selling at home, not selling enough of it.
Well, it takes more tact and it takes more skill, at least in the realm of telling a story. You can, there's of course a huge craft and skill in practical effects and gore, and we'll talk about The Thing and stuff like that. But like one of the things, this is a side tangent, but Terrifier 2 is blowing up right now, and I watched it, and one of the things for me was like, it's just because they just threw a shit ton of gore in there, and that takes no skill from a story standpoint. And so like to kind of build off to pull off this type of horror where you're able to keep it PG, but it feels like there are real stakes and there are real horror beats, that takes a lot of skill. And it's something I respect a lot more than just gore and gore and gore and gore.
At the same time, if you want to talk about like doing things practically by hand, this movie blows just about anything out of the water. It's
exactly
impressive.
The technical you would never know that this was anything like if it wasn't so like if you couldn't clock stop motion the way human brains can,
Mhm.
it would be very easy to confuse this with a digital production. And there is digital stuff in there. There's certainly
Sure,
some
yeah.
stuff in there and digital corrections and things like that. But it is like just so fucking incredibly animated from a stop motion perspective
Mhm.
that you don't think about it as stop motion for a majority of the film. Like you're not focused on that. I feel like
Yeah.
in Nightmare Before Christmas, even I focus most of my time thinking about like how the stop motion is animated. Oh, how the puppetry
Yeah.
works and all that stuff.
Mhm.
In this, I don't really think about that. That's fucking incredible. And that's
Yeah.
like Kubo and the Five Strings or whatever that movie is. Like it's
Mhm.
kind of the same in that way. Like it just draws you in such a way that the story is carrying you, not just the visuals, even though the visuals are incredible in all of the films I've just mentioned.
Mhm.
You're able to focus on the actual narrative.
Are there any other major points you guys want to touch on before we rate Coraline?
I just wanted to say this movie for some reason reminds me very, very much, not for some reason, because of the video game aspect and shit, very much of Psychonauts. Who's played Psychonauts? Juice, have you played that?
I did play a little bit of it. Yeah.
Each individual
Crave
like
was
world,
really big into that. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Each individual world. There's even like the circus world is a world from Psychonauts, and
Mhm.
that came out like 5 years before this. And I wonder how much visual language they got like inspired by from that, because there's like a visual language there that's kind of in the same realm of like ragdoll, like unreal proportions, that unreal like figures, unreal cut skin tones, all that shit. Like very, very, I don't know, just very cartoonified everything. That this movie really does well as also, and it's similar environs, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just want to point out the similarities because I think I love both of those properties so much, and they share a lot of DNA, I think.
All right. Well, let's rate this thing out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about Coraline?
This is a little tough in that I knew I was going to rate it very high, because I've always respected this film a lot and it's always stuck out in my mind. It's been interesting talking through some of those things today because just maybe some things we didn't touch on a little bit before I give the final rating, but what else? Like the not pulling the punches. The one scene too where she just goes and like weeps in her parents' bed, with them gone, and she builds like fake pillows and she's like this kid, That's
She makes
so
like doll replacements for her folks.
yeah. And then she finds the doll replacements with their like button eyes and stuff. And the rotten food to imply, she's not just making this up. The car is there. They were supposed to drive the neighbors to a party, like that's all like very sad and impactful. And this PG movie really does a lot. It's got the emotions there without having to make these characters perfect. These parents, they're not shitty parents. They're just busy parents. And they're like, don't have a lot of money right now. And like this kid isn't the perfect kid. She's like kind of shitty. And the neighbors aren't perfect. Like even her friend isn't perfect. He's kind of shitty. And like, I like the kind of grounded, realistic aspect while also adding these really effective horror and emotional beats. I have always kind of felt like that video game aspect and that it was kind of repetitive, and I still felt it this time. But like talking through it, the craft here is so impeccable throughout so much of this. The visuals are amazing. The music I've always loved, and I still love it this time. I think it complements it very well. And the horror beats, the cotton candy ladies, they add some hints of it too. She talks about mom, you always call them dingbats or something, and later the dogs turn into bats, and them just popping out of that like candy cocoon thing is so childlike but also so fucked up. The aspects of like the theater of the old school like waves moving and stuff, that's just got some cool texture, just like the opening of this. the texture in this animation is so fantastic as well. There's so much to praise about this. And then, of course, we didn't like the final showdown scene is when she jumps down. When Coraline's like at the bottom of the web and the scene of the mom jumps down, like screams, that shit's fucked, dude. Like that's kind of scary. Even as an adult, you're like, oh my God, I love the way she gets taller, at first she gets lankier, and then even she gets sharper and her hand turns to a claw and stuff. Oh man, they nail it. They really nail it. So I actually was prepared to give this a 4.5 because, I've always kind of felt that back and forth and like the video game aspect, but you're right, like the Ghost Kids gives like heart and they tie it into the house itself and Wyborn and I just don't know how I could like change that to make it better necessarily. So I don't know. I think I'm like, there might be some nitpicky things, but I think ultimately I am going to give it a 5-star. Even if there were Yabos in this, I've said in Perfect Blue or something that I didn't give half-star for animated Yabos. Because I said,
Rob, why
that's
don't
just
you
some
keep
people.
tabs on the rules? Okay. The code is very
Yeah, one
written
of us
out
has
in a 12-page policy document.
One of us has a consistent code, and the other one pretends to have a code.
Oh,
And the other host doesn't exist.
Oh my God! Is this a midterm debate I'm hearing right now?
Half-star for the fleshy lump, huh, Bob? You like that story I posted earlier this week? Did you like that?
Well, I believe in the freedom to choose your code. Juice, okay.
Codes are fluid, bro.
You believe in the
enforce my
freedom
code
to
on
talk
anybody
to
else.
put
I don't
somebody
believe codes are a
down for
binary.
their code and then make your own code with the same. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, freedom of code, all right.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint licker?
Half-star for whatever you want.
So yeah,
listeners.
I'm just gonna give this a 5-star film. This has like the craft is just fantastic, like from beginning to end on this. And I've never actually read the book of Coraline or the short story, whatever it is, but this adaptation is with or without the book is fantastic. So yeah, 5-star. I'll give it a 5-star. You guys kind of talked me up a scotch. So
wow,
I know
that's surprising and also cool.
Yeah. Bob,
I'm gonna slide in.
Yeah, slide in here, Bob. Out of 5, Caroline. How do you feel?
Caroline, doo-doo smells like roses. Oh, your doo-doo smells like roses.
That's how the song goes. Caroline,
I'm not gonna smell like you do.
Your doo-doo smells like roses.
Oh yeah, Outcast. It's the greatest song. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
There's. I love the opening in this movie where like we see the creation of Coraline's doll, like doppelganger doll, being stitched together by what looks like knitting needles, like tiny little needles or whatever. But we come to find out that like that is the Beldame's hands, which could also be like they also like very much resemble that of like a spider's arms or whatever. Fingers, I don't know.
Legs, dude.
Legs. Thank you.
They have legs.
Here we go. Here I am. I think it's just like a really spooky, cool way to like open this movie up. The weird neighbors are like super interesting as well. There was a very brief moment where she goes to see the two ladies, the theater ladies, and their doormat says no whistling in the house. I didn't know what that meant. Alice broke this down for me. Apparently, like theater techs, they use like whistle signals to communicate to each other to know like when to drop props or raise props or whatever. And if you're like watching a play and were to whistle, that might confuse somebody, one of the theater techs. They might do something at the wrong time. So like that.
I thought that was all about their dogs.
Well, yeah, I mean that also makes sense too, but they're like way into the theater. I don't know. I thought that was super interesting. And also, like, speaking of the dogs turning into bats later in the movie, they do stuff all of their Scotty dogs when they die, and they stitch angel wings on them. And then of course later on they do have just full on like bat wings and fly around.
They're fitting that dog for wings.
No,
so sad.
getting up there in years, we got to go ahead and take care of it.
Even at the end, she's
Pragmatic,
like, you can't
but
escape
ghoulish.
it forever.
The Bobinski, we touched pretty well on his stuff, but the whenever she returns to the otherworld Bobinski, and we see the cotton candy cannons, and also there's this chicken shit popcorn dispenser where it's just shitting out popcorn. The
Give
little
me that.
the details to all these little characters, their own little corners of the world, and the giant garden out back that looks like Coraline's face, and then we see the dad rolling up in this horse and buggy situation, and then he turns into a pumpkin man and falls through into the river. There's just such beautiful moments.
Pumpkins.
The piano, the self-playing piano scene where he's ad-libbing a song about Coraline is fucking cool. The blackness of the button eyes, the ghost kids, the YB character. It's honestly the only thing that really detracts from this movie is the repetitive nature of the story at hand, and it does feel like it's rinsing and repeating, maybe one time too many. If they cut it down to just one time, it would maintain that fresh feeling. I don't know how you would do that necessarily and still tell the same effective story. You do, I don't know, the time you spend with Coraline and seeing her mourn the loss of her parents and sort of grow to appreciate what she did have, when she's laying in bed with the pillow versions of her folks. It's just it fucking hits you right in the heart. It's it's a great movie. It's beautiful visually. They tell the story very, very well. It's just that repetitive motion that this story kind of has by nature. It feels it overstays its welcome. I think I'm going to come in with a 4 out of 5 on this one. Good shit. Not perfect, but very, very, very good. Randu, how do you feel?
I feel pretty good. Feeling pretty good. I think that this movie is well covered by you guys as all its positives. It's a strikingly beautiful movie, a technical achievement, as Selleck is known for in this realm. Its art direction is fucking impeccable. Its character design is fucking impeccable. The voice acting, we didn't really talk too much about it, but it's great. Dakota Fanning does a pretty great Michigan accent throughout this movie, not usually going too over the top, but enough to where you definitely can tell. Keith David is great in this. Fucking John Hodgman's great in this. Was it Terry Hatcher is the other mother? I think so. I'll double check it.
Check it.
I don't know. I just think all the performances are great. The music to me is pretty negligible. I don't doubt that it's good.
You're right.
But I don't really think about it. I am right. Okay. I have to relish in those moments where I get the names right. But I think ultimately my drawback for this film is what I've already stated, which is just that I kind of feel like I don't get enough set up with our broader cast of characters to really understand, or not to really get the most out of the subversion and then the ultimate arc that the original real life person, be they kind of crazy, kind of silly, not imperfect people, are actually. That's what you want. You want real people. You don't want facsimiles of people designed to your specification or foot soldiers of some evil bastard. You want somebody who's a real person, and you want it in order to, get the most out of that person is you have to be a decent person to them back and treat them, well. I think it's just a really strong parable that could have been pushed home a little bit further. I was not so put off by the repetitive nature of things. I think that each time she goes back, it's pretty well justified. So, and the video game thing, I think they could have throttled that just a little bit and brought me, like I said, 90% of the way back home with that. Ultimately, I feel pretty strong that this is a great movie. I think it's my favorite Henry Selick movie that I've seen. And I think that it's I think that now that the age group that grew up with this is now hitting the big time and becoming the primary demographic, we're going to see a lot more love for this movie going forward. And I think it's already started. It's just not necessarily, top of mind for everybody. Anyway, long story short is I think this is a great movie, and I think that it's well worth anyone's time. I think it's a 4.75 for me.
4.75 from Randu is going to put our aggregate at a 4.6.
There you go,
Let's
Henry. Look at it. Straight chilling crew giving you the love right here.
We're doing
Fuck Tim
it.
Burton.
We're doing it for our boy Henry.
Well, yeah.
Fuck TV. Let's jump into a Rotten Tomatoes
Just
segment.
fuck Johnny already. Damn.
See what the critics and users think about Caroline. Your doo-doo roses are great.
Certified.
Your doo-doo roses are great.
That's the song.
lyric?
Everybody knows that song.
Big Boy wrote that himself.
Mhm.
All right. This is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I give these gentlemen the chance to guess within the best of their abilities what the critics and users aggregate positive scores are on RottenTomatoes.com. There are 271 critic reviews for this film, so that's where we're going to start. Bob, why don't you start us off with this? Where do you think those 271 critics fall in the aggregate of positive scores? What percentage?
I do think this is going to be largely positive. It'd be hard to think of like a lot of reasons why people would just not dig this movie. Even critics, I think. I'm going to go pretty high. How high? I'm going to go give me the boys, Project 86, please.
Ooh. All right. Juice, what are you going to do without your boys? What are you going to do?
I think it's gonna be high too, and I know we try to stray away from this, but since it's on the higher end of the spectrum, there's not a lot of degrees to go. So I'm gonna go 87 and just bank on this being like considered like kind of a classic, really high rated. I don't know like a lot of critiques people would have for this to bring it down.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna play a little
You'd have to
safe
ask
tonight.
a professional critic.
Yeah, and go 87. Well, let me ask him, Soju, what do you think about this? Well,
I think it's real good.
Oh boy.
I imagined he was a Muppet for some reason. Anyway,
Thanks.
yeah. Juice is going to take this one. It is 90% positive, certified fresh.
Oh,
Damn.
well, that's a hell eat.
One of the ripest tomatoes you ever seen. The critics' consensus reads as follows: with its vivid stop-motion animation combined with Neil Gaiman's imaginative story, Coraline is a film that's both visually stunning and wondrously entertaining. I think that's reasonably fair.
Yep.
At least it matches my opinion fairly well. So good job. Let's jump over to our our user score rather. Juice, you'll start us off here. There are 250,000 plus user ratings for this film. 250,000 plus. So why don't you tell me?
That is a lot.
This came out in the prime time.
Yeah,
for
in the prime of
Rotten
Rotten
open
Tomatoes, yeah.
door policy. Why don't you tell me what you think about that?
So with that, once you get such a high number like that, it's gonna drop it down. But I still, think that this is gonna be positive overall. So factoring in like the huge number, I'm gonna go at 80.
Okay. Bob, how about you? Make a stand.
Boy, I'm gonna 81.
Oh, you're gonna $1.
$1 up,
Oh man.
like a professional.
You're gonna kick yourself, my friend, because you
Fucking
should have
A.
$1 down.
Fucking
It's a 73%.
Fucking A.
That's it. That's
Are we done?
Hey,
For
you
now.
get some jujubes with me?
Yeah, I do. All right.
I can live off these things.
Nobody can.
Let's jump over to some
Well, they're
Critic-
candy, so no, you could.
Let's move over to some negative reviews from our critics and users because they tend to be the funniest. There's not a lot to cull from here. There's quite a bit of positivity towards this film. I had to look pretty deep to find the first few 1 and 1/2 star reviews.
Oh God.
In the user scores.
Deep.
Here's a professional critic. The movie though dares not go below the surface. Could the problem be its use of 3D? Did the filmmakers think that to offset the additional illusory visual dimension, they had to remove all depth from the story itself? That guy wanted to use the word illusory.
What? No
I'm pretty
depth?
sure.
What?
There's no depth to this story.
It's also a family film, so not the best reason to give it less than a 50% or whatever it was.
Children lost their souls, sir. Okay. Fuck you. Fuck you.
No depth.
Here's somebody. At times it was trying too hard to be all caps here, whimsical, and missing the point that whimsy is best taken unself-consciously. By all means, see it if you can. Also endure the tedious splendor that is The Nightmare Before Christmas. They are both stunning to look, and then it just kind of stops. This person only likes accidental whimsy. So that's the only acceptable form of whimsy.
Children's film.
Also, this is
Brothers Grimm are just tryhards.
This is like the most contemporary like whimsy I've seen.
Yeah, I would hesitate to use that word, to be honest.
Well, without like taking it to some kind of like fantastical place. I mean, it's in a boarding house.
No, it's definitely whimsical.
I mean, it's whimsical. No, it's whimsical, but I'm saying like they're not, it's not like he's saying like cheap whimsy, like, oh, they had to be.
Yeah,
but it's like
he's trying too hard to be whimsical, so this person just finds it too whimsical for them, and I guess they got to get back to their meat packing job or whatever. Just give me the basic facts of this spider woman stealing children's souls, please. No whimsy required. I just want the basic facts, please. Here's one last half-star review, and this is from a user. This is my favorite. One of the parts that's very, all caps here, inappropriate for the children is when the obese lady dances around on stage in a thong with C-star stickers covering her nipples. Wow, really? Sick-ass pedophilia-filled people always pushing sex on our babies. Ought to be ashamed. Shaking my head.
When was that?
2019.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
During certain presidencies.
Honestly, I was expecting that to be written like
presidencies will go unnamed. Happened in 2019.
You don't know what country I'm talking about. There's lots of presidents out there.
The president of Zanzibar was really on blast here.
There's a lot of countries.
There are.
Equally on stream.
This person is very obviously concerned with all these other countries.
My god.
That's our.
Now
that's
I
our
will say, like, we didn't really talk about it. That was kind of a weird choice for sure.
It was a weird choice. I kind of loved it though. It's daring to me. I loved it.
Daring.
It's not like it was sexual, really. Like it was funny.
It wasn't.
Silly.
Yeah. But, yeah. It was just a weird choice for me.
Here's one more in half star. This movie does not belong for a family movie night. What the hell were they thinking? There's one period in that.
Well, it's a little scary. If it was like a 5-year-old, maybe it's
what
too
the
much.
hell were they thinking? I mean, this is a PG film. I think it fits into that pretty cleanly.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Personally, there's no cursing. There's no naughty words.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
There's some clay titties though. So
yeah,
those clay titties. You can't be heaving your breasts around in clay format. That's just too titillating for the.
We need more violence, is what we need.
Yeah.
They need.
Why didn't they just slaughter everyone in this movie? That would have been totally
Coraline,
why didn't they just destroy a skyscraper like Iron Man does?
Get an AK and just roll it in there and just fucking blast. Just start blasting.
Then my child could watch it without
my
any
child
problem.
could totally watch this movie, and so long as somebody lifts an entire city into the sky and then destroys it.
And then
That's
I don't
totally
have to have
acceptable.
a weird boner about some clay titties.
And I don't have to tell my child about sexuality.
That's right. You just
Dodge
remain
the bullet.
asexual.
They'll learn about it on their wedding night, like
I need my boy,
which also happened to be my prom.
God damn it! That's what I want. That's the way it's gonna be.
Got a lot of social commentary going on.
We've thoroughly shat down the neck of this one reviewer who literally does not even have a name on here.
What a coward! Won't even put his name on there.
His name is Incel at incel.gmail.com.
I'm in a cell of my own creation.
What an incel coward piece of shit!
Calling you out. We got beef with you, random Rotten Tomatoes reviewer.
Why don't you go get laid, you piece of shit?
Oh my God. Make some clay titties that you can touch, you fucking
Oh.
asshole.
This person
Okay.
definitely owns a busty anime girl model somewhere. Has definitely jizzed on it. That's a guarantee.
Oh my God. This has spiraled out of control.
We're out of control. Randy, you're done. Your segment is done.
I tried to cut myself off. You guys just let it keep rolling.
It is totally time for trivia.
Is it?
It's totally time for trivia.
Boys, I got a pile of trivia.
Yeah, give it to me, Bob. There was some good trivia on this from what I saw.
Give it to me, Bob. Give me that funk, that sweet, that ass, that gush stuff. The character of Wybie does not exist in the short story. It was created
Really?
for the film, specifically so that Coraline would not have to just like speak in her own mind to herself. So she had
That
someone
makes
to talk to.
Sure.
I thought they did a pretty good job.
Good
with that character.
addition. Yeah, good
Yeah.
addition.
very
Yeah.
good addition.
Solid. Over 130 sets were built across 52 different stages. It spanned 183,000 square feet. The different stages were the most ever deployed for a stop motion animated feature. Damn.
I feel like this is an art craft that's like gonna disappear because of
Probably,
stuff like
probably.
that.
It's all.
Yeah.
I think it's disappeared already as much as it's going to, because
Yeah,
at least
okay.
until like Apocalypse hits, because this is like what you see a stop
We all
motion
die.
animated film like every every few years maybe that's on
Really?
a wide really like I think it's I don't know it's not very often you see it is all I'm saying. And
You're
like,
on the
I think
record,
the-
Randy. You better get this correct.
What is
right
it?
now.
Wendell
and
in the Wild
Wild.
is
Yeah,
the new one
yeah.
that's
The
coming
new
out.
one. Mhm. But that was
Um,
Netflix. I don't know. I guess that was stop motion.
No, I think it was.
I think it's supposed to
Okay.
be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I'm gonna
There's
look at
I
it.
think it's pretty rare, and I think it's mostly this guy, but I think also eventually somebody's going to come along and become the next like stop motion guy.
Okay.
I just don't see mediums don't entirely disappear; they just fall out.
Oh,
of
hey, I got a
fashion.
whole lot more trivia. You wanna hear?
Oh, hey, cool.
Yes.
There were 24 different puppets of Coraline used in the making of the movie. Each one took 10 individuals and 3 to 4 months to build.
Wow.
God damn, dude.
Initially, the movie was going to be live action, and Dakota Fanning was just going to play Coraline, and then I guess they pivoted. Yeah,
I'm glad they did.
Hallelujah.
That could have been fun, but like this, it stands out because of the cartoonishness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The face on the dollar bill given to the mover at the very beginning of the movie is Henry Selick's face on that dollar bill.
Mhm.
Cheap out on that guy.
The band They Might Be Giants wrote 10 songs for this movie.
Oh shit!
I guess they decided to change the tone to like a more dark production.
Mm.
So they cut all the songs except for 2. Apparently, when Coraline's other father sings along with the piano, that was one of them.
How did I know?
John Linnell's voice, and then the other is during the end credits, so it's not even really in the movie.
I see. That sucks for them, but I don't think that would have fit this movie.
I don't think so either.
They were doing that back in the day too, because when you said that, the first thing that popped in my mind was that Where the Wild Things Are.
Was that them too?
Right. Yeah.
Well, no, they were just
No.
using kind of like indie bands to kind of
Yeah.
fill out the
Yeah.
soundtrack of that, and that didn't really work out that great.
Yeah. Apparently they did like plan to release those songs in on the record, so I guess you can probably hear them. I don't know their catalog well enough to like tell you where they're at, but I guess you can hear them somewhere. The entirety of Coraline was shot throughout 18 months, which followed 2 years of pre-production. It's 3.5 years overall, almost 4 years, damn, to make this movie happen. That's nuts. The model of the father was based on your boy Ted Raimi, which I totally fucking see.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
When Coraline sees her friends in the photo from Michigan, she exclaims, "My best trolls!" The word troll apparently is a common Michigan nickname for someone who lives in the Lower Peninsula, which
Oh,
All right.
I assume that is factual.
okay.
All right.
All right.
Coraline has also been made into a stage musical produced by MCC Theater in New York, with music and lyrics by Stéphane Merit of the Magnetic Fields. I bet that's badass, man.
That could be fun.
Hope it's like as visually stunning as this. Then that would be really cool.
Yeah. The crew spent 800 hours painting 250,000 pieces of popcorn pink on the outside, red on the kernel, to stand in as blossoms for the 70 trees they used in the movie.
Holy shit.
Damn, dude. Oh my god.
Damn.
That's some patience I do not have.
Dude, same. I would go nuts doing that.
That's like working on little small shit like that too, like repetitive little small shit. I'd be like, I'd lose my goddamn mind.
Oh God, no!
Yeah, that'd be me.
I got just a couple more here. When Coraline returns to the other world on the second night, she finds her other mother cooking dinner for breakfast. The other mother cracks an egg, and the yolk is the head of Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Cool.
The last,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It's not important.
The last bit I have here. At different points in the movie, Coraline is seen wearing a black Baker Boy hat with a symbol of a lotus flower on the front. In Greek mythology, the Lotus Eaters were a group of people that lived on an island dominated by a lotus tree. When the inhabitants ate the lotuses, they would completely forget their home and loved ones and want only to stay with their fellow lotus eaters, a theme which the plot of the movie is apparently built upon. There you go.
Oh, okay.
We's a little juice.
Oh, I see, because you forget where you came from. And then, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Wheeze a little juice, please. That is all of the trivia I have. You know what time it is? It's time for Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the Week.
Juice, what is the Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Ho! Cooter's character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, is it possible that we have a cooter in Coraline? I think we could only nominate the mother, right?
The Belle
That's
Dame.
the only thing that's even registering on the seismic shift. So,
all right, let's break it down.
Then.
Manipulation, check-a-rooney.
So freaking lootly.
Check-a-rooney. Okay,
it's all manips.
She's wearing another woman's skin. So can we give her a look and attire?
Well, yeah, and she also is a horrific spider lady. So I think either counts for looking attire.
Yeah.
So yeah, she gets pretty tore up there towards the end.
From the floor up.
Yeah, so let's give it to her. Also, yeah, let's give it to her. So she's got 2. Smug arrogance, the way she cheats, plays the games. I think that gives some smug arrogance, right?
Yeah, maybe a little.
I think her like just overall demeanor is smug, to be honest. Like she's got like, you know, her Coraline like in the palm of her hand, like from I feel like she's pretty fucking smug overall.
Okay.
Know,
especially there towards the end when she's like sitting on the chair and she's like
that. Yes,
she does say something like, "In a strong will can be broken with love" or something like that. She's pretty cocky.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. To me, I think that's like later in the movie. Certainly, I think earlier, like the manipulation. I think that the fact that she has to go through all of this bullshit to ensnare this kid, you know, I feel like she could have just grabbed her up. Maybe that's more pointed towards arrogance. It's like just playing with her food, you know?
But they don't really go into it, but for some reason she has to accept it. And that was why I kind of like the idea that she had to choose to go back for her to be trapped there. She has to choose to get the buttons in her eyes. Like she can't just, so there's some kind of rules. We just don't know what they are.
See, yeah. So it's a little hazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that what's the next point? Let's just burn them down. If there's anything else.
So sexual deviance.
Nah.
Nah.
You would have to extrapolate pretty fucking hard. I
And
think.
then overall patheticness. Now, the
Mm.
only thing is, too, it's a little hazy. They kind of like hint around it about what her purpose is. It later comes out as like she wants to consume or something.
Yeah, she
But
wants
but
to
if
suck your life force out.
but at
Suck
first,
your
too, he's
soul.
like, maybe she just wants something to love. And the thing is like we said, the last kid who was there was the grandmother. We don't know at what point she died. Like, yeah, she's a kid ghost,
Mhm.
I think it was that point.
but yeah, we don't really
Makes
know.
sense, yeah. Do you
I don't know.
want
I think that we,
somebody
if
to
she is,
love?
she's hitting some 3 of the points, but to me, she just doesn't quite feel like a cooter. I think if she's like a cooter in the sense that we usually talk about them, it's a pretty light cooter. I think generally she's just
Mhm.
A villain.
a villain, like sort of not a stock villain necessarily, but just a mythical villain. And
Yeah.
manipulation is sort of her core central thing. She's a manipulative,
It
scurvy
is.
little spider.
I think she's got enough unique personality to like get hints of the cooter. Like we said, like when the cat's like challenger, she won't be able to resist or whatever. Like that's kind of cootery, like, I gotta
Yeah.
play this game, like
Mm,
I can't
Which is
just.
kind of pathetic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's
Can't
got
say
like
I
no.
think it's all
hints
part of the
this
smugglers. Like I think that's
patheticness,
all part of
Yeah.
her being like liking to play with her food. So
We didn't
Yeah.
even really say this is a bit of a tangent. Shouts out to Keith David as the cat.
Yeah, man.
Killing it, man.
Yeah.
she fucks over that poor cat at the end. I was like, just hurls, like yeets the cat right in the
Yeah.
devil's face. I'm like, that poor fucking cat.
It's a cool aspect though. That claws her eyes
It
out
is.
with her buttons or
Yeah.
whatever, and then she's gotta like feel on the spider web.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Dude,
And then
her
they have to make
climbing
up at the end.
the spider
Oh
web
my
and it like
God.
vibrating and like tipping off like where she's at. Fucking,
Mhm.
we didn't even really get into that. That's
And
fucking
mom like
nice. Nice
chasing
touch.
her and woof,
Nice.
Yeah.
woof.
Nice.
Nice.
Real nice.
So-
What's your last piece
so-
of trivia, Bob? Oh,
Trivia.
sorry.
Nope, we are not in
Thanks
trivia,
for
my
joining
guy.
the show, Randy.
We are hunting.
What's
So
your
are
next
we going
segment, Bob?
Cooter Light, I think is what it sounds like.
Sure.
Bell
Dam.
Sure.
Cooter Light for the Bell Dam. All right.
Sure.
This is why I don't keep the beat.
Keep an eye out on the Bell Dam. She's light, but you never know what she's gonna do next. All right.
Bob, what's the plot synopsis here?
We got. Hey everybody, welcome to Straight Grill. Where we talk about
All right.
Outcast Records, all the doo-doo flowers. Hallelujah.
Dude,
We're
smell
that's
great.
it. That's it for Cooter of the Week. Let's go ahead and chill the fuck out and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randu, why don't you kick us off? What you been watching this week?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So first of all, I finally got a chance to watch the fabled episode 7 of Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, and I liked it quite a bit. I don't think it's my favorite though. Like by any means,
Definitely
a
not
lot of
mine.
people really pushed that one as like the big one,
Mm.
and it was good. I
It
liked
is
what they did with it.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I don't think it was anywhere remotely near bad, but it was not the most engaging one for me. My favorite is still number 2, personally, episode 2.
The rats.
It's a strong
Yeah.
one.
I dig the fuck out of that. It is the perfect like gothic horror bullshit, or even I don't even know if it's gothic horror, but just that anachronistic sort of gothic or horror level.
Yeah.
Hot topic
I
horror.
love it. Hot
Love
topic
it.
horror, yeah,
Fucking
that's
love
the
it.
good shit. No, like
Mhm.
Nightmare the VHS board game level horror. I love it. Next I also watched Dash Cam. Bob, I watched Dash Cam.
Oh,
and
did
I think
you,
it's really-
Randy? I keep
did.
mixing that up with
Deadstream?
Deadstream. Yeah.
That's what
That
I was gonna
makes
say. It's
sense,
like
yeah.
it's super fucking weird to me. It's like I feel like those two movies are like the Ants and Bugs Life of horror for this year.
Yeah.
They're like it's a two movies that are centered. They're found footage movies centered around the worst live streamer in the world and different interpretations of who that is. And buddy, yeah, it's definitely the inferior one. Dashcam is definitely the inferior one. It is
Dude.
just one of the most aggravating people to follow. And
Yeah.
I looking up some of the backstory. Nope,
Dude.
cashing out. Cashing out on that one.
You should listen to my mini cast because I do get a lot into the backstory, and like I went down a rabbit hole after I watched that movie because I couldn't get my head around. I was like, I have to know who these people are and like what they're
Dude, me
thinking,
too.
and like, is this a real person or is this a character? And like, the deeper I dove, the more I was like, fuck everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it sucks a lot.
It invites ire, and that's its intention. So yay for you. You got people riled.
Dude,
I don't like it.
You can't make a movie like that and be surprised when people react negatively to it. And it seems
did they?
like they almost do. Yeah, the main chick went so far as to say, like, if you dislike this movie, oh man, I can't say it on because I forget exactly what she says. I say her exact quote on the mini cast, and it blew my fucking mind. She was just like, if you don't like this movie, you're the fucking problem. You're the asshole, not me. Fuck you. But like more succinct. It's just like, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's always a good tack when your movies getting criticism is to say, no, it's you.
It's your fucking dude.
It's
People are
your
gonna have
fault.
opinions about
No,
that movie.
you're
Strong
the most
ones.
abrasive person ever put on camera. How about that?
You have
Fucking-
to expect that and like roll with the punches if you're gonna make a movie like that.
I could listen to audiobooks by Fran Drescher all day long in her peak Fran Drescher voice, and it would still be preferable, I think. Anyway,
I think the exact word she said was like narcissist. She's like, if you don't like my movie, you're a narcissist, which is the most narcissistic fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Get fucking bent, man. Like, oh my god.
If you don't worship me, there's something wrong with you.
You're a narcissist. What? Eat my asshole. Okay.
Rob, Randy's talking about what he's
sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to do trivia here, Bob. If you calm down,
we're trying to hear Randy's plot synopsis here, Bob.
Here we go. So, two more items on the list, and they're also kind of like in the similar realm of, like, well, not a similar realm, but they are similar to each other in the same way that those two movies are, in that they are about how obscene wealth doesn't necessarily protect you from the real world. And those two movies are The Menu and Triangle of Sadness.
I didn't even know The Menu was out.
I saw a sneak. So.
Special boy.
You son of a bitch.
Special Randy.
And it is fucking great. I will say this. I like The Menu quite a bit. It is, as promised, delivered. It's good stuff to me. Okay. Triangle of Sadness, not quite as interesting as I hoped it would be to me. I think there's a lot going on, and it goes a lot further than I expected. And it's just commenting on a lot of shit, and it's maybe a little bit of a mess because of that. I think it might be trying too much a little bit, and it feels a little bit disconnected at times. But ultimately, I did enjoy it. It's just, I think like I had to make a direct comparison in my head because I saw these like 3 days after this one's 3 days after The Menu. And yeah, they both touch on themes of like, oh, wealth, class, all that shit. It's fucked up and it ruins people's lives, but also you don't have to be poor to have your life ruined by circumstance. And when the tables are turned or when things are flipped on their head in some way, crazy shit can happen. And I don't know. There's a lot of commentary around those sort of ideas. So I like them both, but The Menu it's up there, baby. It's up there for me this year.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Might
I'm
have
stoked
to
to
go
see
on some kind of future poll we've got going on
that we've discussed thoroughly, but won't announce yet.
All right.
Anyway, that's it for me.
Awesome. Juice, what about you?
I've been watching a few things. I did finish up House of the Dragon, which turned out pretty good. I watched Wendell and Wild because I was preparing for this week's episode and I wanted to watch it. It's a new kind of horror-esque film this year. Woof. I did not care for that. And I was thinking back, Henry Selick, he hasn't done a lot of films. They take forever. And what I was thinking of is the only other movie I remember that he did was Monkey Bone, which I've only seen one time and did not like, and it does not have a good reputation. So what I was thinking is Tim Burton laid out a lot of the Nightmare Before Christmas, like the characters and stuff like that. Then he did James and the Giant Peach, which I like. I also watched. And he did Coraline, which are both stories, though. They're from books. And I was like, maybe Henry Selick just needs that guideline to kind of work his magic, because Wendell and Wild was a hot, hot mess. I don't know if we'll ever talk about it. Like, I don't know if we'll ever cover it, but it just the story was like very disjointed, and like it was not it wasn't that great. I was very disappointed, honestly. I have started watching the Cabinet of Curiosities. I'm not that far though. I'm like 3 deep, so I'll probably get there by next week. Again, I did watch James and the Giant Peach. Just kind of preparing again, and I liked that movie as a kid. It holds up pretty good. And I finished the Drink Masters or whatever, the one where the cocktail show. That ending, Bob, we'll have to talk about it when we hang out. I did not agree with who won that. I did not agree with who won that.
The winner was my second choice.
Really?
Yeah.
It was my last. I was
Really?
kind of surprised that person even made it into the finals, honestly.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, I did not agree at all.
Okay.
But
she's a fancy flapjack.
But I like that show. I really do like those kinds of shows.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Bob the whole time. I was like, oh man, Bob's got to step up his game.
I do. You're right.
Some of that shit is insane. But also, I'm like, what is the practicality of this? Because they're like, make a cocktail in 2 hours. Like, I'm going to stroll up to the fucking bar and wait 2 hours to get my drink on.
Well, you'd have to batch all the ingredients. But also, like, one of those cocktails would be like $50, and most people just aren't paying that.
That it's like, that's British Bake Off shit. Like, you could, like, nobody's actually hunting out a roller coaster on their cake, like, unless
but British Bake Off does do like make 10 perfect cinnamon rolls,
right? That's true.
Hell
but like, I don't. What I don't like is like you said, the impracticality. Like, if it's not something that I feel like you would encounter in everyday life, it's just sort of for show. That's fine for TV or whatever, but like it really takes some of the I don't know, relatability off of the table for me.
Well, one thing I do like that this show did is they split the difference, because they do the first challenge where they make something like really challenging or whatever, and like you have a long time to make it, and then they like pick 2 or 3 people at the bottom to make a cocktail in like 20 minutes. And they're like, okay, do it that. And then you're like, okay. And there's this one dude who like crushes that shit. I'm like, I like that. So they do split the difference. So I like that.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've been watching.
Tight. I checked out
Bob, what's your trivia?
Bob.
Oh,
what you
hey.
been watching?
Oh, hey.
What's your trivia
I watched.
What's that plot synopsis, Bob?
Oh boy.
How those numbers looking, Bob?
Oh my god. I watched Wakanda Forever, which is the Black Panther sequel that just came out this week, Marvel's latest film. I feel like they did like a really good send-off for the Black Panther. I don't know that I love this movie overall, but yeah, Chadwick Boseman, thank you. They do like a really good send-off for him, and it's like the movie starts with that. They really like handle it immediately, and I think about as well as they could have. The overall story is like not super engaging for me. Like, the bad guy is a little iffy, I think. Marvelly, yeah. And there is one scene that sticks out to me. Like, there's like a car chase sequence that was like really, really well done. I loved that quite a bit. But it is definitely sort of like hitting those Marvel beats. And it's damn near 3 hours long.
They're all like so long these days.
I know,
too much.
It is definitely too long. But like, I will say, I was never like bored with the movie. I was just sort of like whelmed, generally. Like that was all right. That was an all right movie.
I am in a film.
Yeah,
the film is happening.
Definitely not the worst Marvel movie I've seen. Definitely not the best. It's just another one. They're gonna keep making them.
Oh boy.
I watched Don't Worry, Darling on HBO Max.
Oh, Bob.
It is fine.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a head shake with that. Fine, but with a head
Bob,
shake.
I'm curious
Floater.
because I've considered we're working on our list for the year of horror. Are you putting that on your horror list of the year?
It's definitely not in my top 10, but
no, yeah, I'm not like, are you putting it on the overall like list of these are horror movies that have come out? Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay,
I would say this is like the easiest thing to compare this to would be like a Black Mirror episode, something like that.
Okay.
And I think for us, for our show, that is close enough to be considered for like a horror movie or story, I think.
And if not, I'll pick it up on YouTube.
That too, yeah. So this was directed by Olivia Wilde, and I guess there was a bunch of weird controversy about the people being on set and like the dynamic between the actors and the director, and there's a lot of drama that I don't really know about and I fucking don't care about. The movie's not good to me anyways. It's very it takes like 2 or 3 other movies and like blends them up like classic movies and sort of blends them up and makes this very like on the fucking nose, predictable, like about as subtle as a fucking Sledgehammer movie. And it's, I don't know.
I did not even know this movie was horror adjacent. I had no idea that it was more than just. I thought it was a romance or something.
I mean, it's got a dash of that for sure, but it is like.
I looked it up and it's being called a psychological thriller on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I guess you call it that. Like out from the outset, though, it is like something is amiss. This shit is weird, but it is like, you know, the aesthetic of it is that of like a 50s, like young couple just got married. They're contemplating having kids, maybe not, or what, you know, what of them's going off to work. The dude's going off to work doing his dude thing, and the woman's staying at home being a housewife, doing her housewife thing.
Just like the world is, right?
And you don't ask the
gotta go do my dude thing. See you later,
women
honey.
do what they're supposed to do, and that's just how things are.
They're making sandwiches.
God, I mean, this movie just fucking.
Do we have to trot out the oldest joke in this?
Dude, they bash you in the fucking face with the message, and like the movie ends, and you're like, yeah, I knew that was the message. Like from the second the movie started, like there's no, like there's I don't know, man.
This Sammy is dry-ish, and then that's where it all goes down.
More mayonnaise, damn it!
I want the fixins.
Yes, I was not impressed by any means. There's some like really nice cinematography and some beautiful shots though, so it's got that at least. I also watched See How They Run on HBO Max, and I don't know that I can offer a full opinion on this because I just did fall asleep during it.
Well, I mean, no obligation to bring it up.
It's got your boy Sam Rockwell in it though. Well, I do want to like make sure
Sam.
people are aware of it. He does a great job. It's it is a whodunit. It's like a classic murder mystery situation. It's very like tongue in cheek. It's very self-aware. It's stepping in a lot of humor.
Can I ask you this?
Yes, you can ask me this.
See How They Run. I assumed that this was a very political movie. For some reason, I thought it was based around a campaign. Is that not the case? I must have made it an assumption.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
The part that I saw, anyways, was not.
I thought it was more of like a wag the dog sort of like.
No,
thing.
it's about a. So there's a
not informed.
There's a stage play happening, and they want to have it turned into a film, and they hire this director who's very like stern in his opinion of what it should be, and he's working with the playwright. And they don't see eye to eye, and then somebody gets murdered, like first thing, and then it's a whodunit. Like, you know, the detectives come in, Sam Rockwell, and then he's got like a young officer with him, and he's like trying to train her, and she's like very quick to like, you know, jump to conclusions, and comedy ensues and stuff. It's pretty dope. I need to finish it, so I don't know. I dig it though. If you like Sam Rockwell, if you have HBO, throw it on. It's got that like kind of Clue vibe that I think we all probably dig quite a bit. Yeah.
If Sam Rockwell didn't get me, that sure did. Okay.
Yeah. So put that on your radar. And the last thing I'll mention is I started watching the latest season of American Horror Story, which is just called New York City. I'm 4 episodes in. I think it's another 10 episode run, and they're doing something kind of different this season where they're releasing 2 episodes a week instead of just 1, which I fucking appreciate it, because
Yeah, me too.
these seasons just feel so fucking drawn out typically. I will say, so far, I'm about halfway through with the season so far. This is not feeling that way. It's a very clear, concise, singular story, and they're not throwing in like random characters and side quests and bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a turn.
Yeah, it is. It takes place in New York City in like the late 70s, early 80s, like right in there. So it's like grimy New
Dirt
York
town,
City,
New York.
totally. And there is a serial killer on the loose, and he is specifically targeting the gay community. And there's definitely like some parallels happening story-wise for AIDS and things like that. It's so far I'm on board. So far, I think it's very well done. I want to see if they can land the plane without going fucking buck wild like they typically
I hope so.
do. So
I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, it feels very like character oriented, and because of that, it's interesting so far. So
good.
So yeah, I've been checking that out. I recommend it so far. That's all I've been watching. That's all I got. We do not have any voicemails this week, but if you are listening,
call me, ladies.
Oh my God. If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, you can do so at 904-638-3231. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out for next week?
Thanksgiving's coming up next week. What's your favorite fixin'?
What's your fixin' of choice?
What fixin' do you like to fix that fixes you? Get your fix.
And if you can make a horror version of that fixin'.
Okay. What is that?
Murder stuff.
I'd make the gravy blood red.
That ain't stuffing. It's blood. That ain't gravy. It's blood. That ain't green bean casserole. It's blood.
That ain't turkey. It's blood.
It's blood.
It's just reformed blood.
It's just blood.
It's just blood.
It's just blood, bud.
It's just blood.
Okay, trying to be creative
it's
around
just
here.
blood.
Trying to really bring a spark to the show.
Oh, you're the most
my
put upon person
genius.
in the world, I think. I would say.
Probably.
Stain, okay, appreciate me now.
Just
Why don't you
trying
listen to my ideas about fixins?
I'm so
My
put
fixins
upon,
ideas are
damn.
good.
Fixin' stains. Ha 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 ha.
And much on some
Grinding.
Call us and tell us why Son-in-Law is in fact a horror film.
Dude, it's kind of horrific.
It's kind of a what about Bob level horror film if you want to.
What about me? What about
Soju? Does anybody ever ask?
It is not in the file.
Soju's not in the file. I don't know. Call in and yell at us. That's fine. Nobody cares. We're off.
Call in and tell us how you're not thankful for us. That sounds great.
I'm thankful for how much you guys fucking suck.
Damn.
Really takes the edge off for the rest of us.
Yeah. Thanks for making us look good. Call in, 904-638-3231. Say whatever you want. We don't know. It's fine.
Just call us, please. We're desperate.
Dear God, Justin is lonely. Let him know you're thinking about
That's
him.
not true.
And his stains.
It could be true for $10 a month on your OnlyFans.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
Oh, I'm so lonely. I'm happy to see you again.
The girlfriend experience available today from Juice's.
Oh, hey, friend. It's good to see you again.
What was that movie? Rent-A-Pal? You could be the Rent-A-Pal.
Dude, Rent-A-Pal is fucking good.
How much would you pay
That's
to
a really
rent
bad movie.
Soju to be your pal? I'll accept.
Damn, Justin's booty hole is for lease. Call in.
Yeah, wow, we're talking about pals.
638-3231.
Talking about pals.
I mean,
the longest
you can pal
outro
around in
ever.
Justin's booty hole.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey, friend.
thanks for
It's been
keeping
a
me company
while.
with
Really
your
miss seeing your face.
money.
I'm a little worried
That's it.
about being a slut.
We're done.
No,
We're done.
we still got
Officially.
more banter to go through.
Next week, back with a brand new show. As always, we're going to be talking about another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by your boy Hydraberg. The movie is 1986's Alien.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Aliens, correct?
We're really
Aliens.
right
The
before
sequel.
400. We're cramming in a couple more classics. Got
We gotta
Coraline knocked out.
cram
Got
in
Aliens.
A couple
Plug it
more
in my eye holes,
classics.
you bitch.
Just cram it in
Aliens.
there.
Slam your eyeballs into Aliens. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Don't forget to send us those email questions for episode 402, straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join in on our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.